Hey everybody, welcome back to the Snaffle Bit Futurity here at the NRCHA, presented by Metallic Cat. We are at the EQN Sports as driven by Holiday Auto Group. This is the first time we've done this week, and this is the backbone of the entire business right here. This is our first owner spotlight, Reid Hockenson of Iowa.
We've come a long ways to come down here.
You have covered some country. You guys are I was just talking to the boss over here a minute ago. Everybody, you guys are right in the middle of harvest and everything right now at home, aren't you?
They're going for sure right now. I'm a Farm Bureau insurance agent. I got a lot of guys that are out there in the field, and sometimes this is a good time to be gone because they're pretty busy.
Yeah, right.
It works out.
So talk to me. Like I said, this is our first owner spotlight. You guys have a bunch of horses. We've been sitting up here chatting. Talk about your guys' program and what you've got going in Iowa.
Well, we started. It's been quite a few years ago. We went to Luke Jones as our trainer. We worked with him for 3-4 years, sending horses, and I was riding horses then, and doing a lot of the starting of them myself. And at one point, I told my wife, I said, if we got to pay those guys to start them, this isn't going to work. And one year I got kind of behind, and then I sent some horses there to get started, and I rode them afterwards, and I said, if we have to have me start them, this isn't going to work anymore. So we changed our program quite a bit then, and we really kind of wanted to move more towards the horse show world.
Sure.
And we were raising more 2-eye jack rope horses, a lot of Pitzer stuff at that point. And Luke and Mel and I were talking, and Luke said, my deal was how he worded it, is the bigger cow horses that we can do the cow horse on and then come back and go into the roping. And Mel and I drove home that day. We're about 3 hours from Luke's, and we talked quite a bit and said, if Luke's our guy and that's Luke's deal, then we really need to be raising horses that are more in his nature and ours.
Sure.
And we loved what he was doing. We loved the kind of horses that they were. And it was really just a matter. Then we started to try to look at, how do we change? What bloodlines do we go to?
Sure.
We ended up buying a son of CD Lights first. Actually, we first bought CT Show Me Your Guns in 2013. He was a baby. And Luke was with us when we bought him. And then 5 weeks later, he was at the Snaffle bit and called, and he said, "Hey, I found a stud for you." And we're like, "Luke, we just bought a stud."
Yeah,
Well, we ended up buying that one too.
Sure.
But those two horses changed our program. We kind of started hand selecting mares for both of them. We lost CD Dynasty 3 years ago. CT Show Me Your Guns ended up being the 2021 world champion head horse for AQHA. We've got a lot of young horses out of him. He's been doing a great job. We've stand a son of his now. The year that CD Dynasty, the son of CD Lights, went to the Snaffle bit, we were gonna use him on our mares. That was our plan. And our trainer Luke said, "Well, we don't breed with those 3-year-olds before they go to the Snaffle bit." And we're like, "What the heck?
What? Yeah.
What are we gonna do now?" So we had specifically purchased 3 or 4 mares that were gonna go to him. So we went outside, and one of those outside breedings was to Metallic Cat, and we ended up with a Palomino Roan stud colt. Out of our mare that we were showing, Bound to White Checks, who ended up being the next year was 3rd in the AQHA world in the heading with Luke. And then in 2019, he ended up being a finalist here at the Snaffle bit, and was kind of another dream come true. So we've still got him. We've got a son of CT Show Me Your Guns we stand called HQ Top Gun that we raised. And then we've got around 20 mares. We usually have around 15 foals.
Sure.
Some of the mares are older. Do a little bit of ET work on the show mares and stuff. And just really kind of do most everything in-house. We really have shown our young horses we've raised. It's been several years since we've really tried to go out and really buy anything to go do stuff with, but it's mostly been stuff we've raised coming through.
So your guys' program, at the team roper, everybody that's been watching this knows how that the team roping's my whole world. The Riata the last 4 years and what that's doing with you being on the AQHA side of things. So you guys, when you got into this with his help, you were looking for that bone. You were looking for those framier horses that had kind of the whole package, didn't you?
Well, and being in Iowa, quite honestly, we were seeing the rejects that came out of this country.
Absolutely.
We weren't seeing the horses that had the bone, the foot, the size that is here.
Yep.
That prior to starting to work with Luke, that we just thought that's what they looked like, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And we did think we wanted that that horse that could do everything. That
Sure.
horse that was was good enough to go do the cow horse as far as athletically, strong enough and enough bone to hold up. But then at the same time, like, we're very particular with when you ride by, we like the person that cranking their head around and going like, my gosh, what is that?
Yeah.
And that's a real fine line, like
Sure.
having something that works in a lot of the different areas. So we've tried to raise that. We call it the pretty athlete. And it's not as easy as it sounds.
Sure.
But it is something that we want that stud horse to be, especially in like that baby or that mare. Like when you walk in the stall with them, the first thing everybody looks at is their face.
Yep.
And that pretty headed horse that, somebody that goes, I want that. I like that. Yep. And, CD Dynasty wore a cob halter until he passed away. HQ Hell of a Cat still wears a tiny little cob halter, tiny little fox ear on him. Mm-hmm. And, that's just something that we really want, that pretty athlete.
That's very cool that you guys are really searching out. And, man, the mare power right now, that's what it's all about.
100%.
It's what it's all about. So you found those stallions. What does the mare band look like?
So, we very hand-selected a lot of mares through the years, and then we've kept back quite a few young ones now. Our first Snaffle bit Futurity went in 2015 with CD Dynasty. That was our first cow horse show. And
that was your first one?
That was our first one, Snaffle bit Futurity. And, we drove to Reno, Nevada from Iowa, and we thought we were going to go win. I mean, that's why we were going. Everybody thinks you're going to win. And we lost the first cow. Luke run it to the back fence and, put his chest against the wall, and the cow pushed through. And it was didn't realize that when you do that, realistically, you're done.
You're done.
But I kept telling Luke, it's mathematically possible. Like, you just got to be big enough. Like, can't you be like a 245? Like, and he would look at me and laugh, and I'm like, wow, what are you laughing about? Like,
I'm serious, man.
I told him yesterday, actually. I said, I'm surprised you didn't get rid of me a long time ago. And he goes, I just like the positive attitude.
Yeah,
so
you got this, man.
Right,
you got Mike Tyson always had that guy, right?
Right, exactly.
You the man, you got it.
So we actually bought a mare there at the sales. She was 20 years old, named Gonna Be Lucky. The mother of Smart Luck. She'd produced over 400,000 at that point. She had a full sibling to Smart Luck in her belly. Brought her home, pulled some embryos. Yeah. We've got two fillies in the broodmare band out of her. One's a Metellus Cat, one's a CD Dynasty. We're still showing that one. And those mares are starting to produce now. We've got an embryo out of the young show mare. We've got Daughter's Metallic Cat. We've still got a couple Pitzer bred mares that are really good, kind of hand-selected mares that come back with that really pretty shape, and the team ropers usually I get really excited about every year.
Those are the ones that just riding around, you just look at and you're like, you can see those horses.
Yep. Yeah. We had a customer actually post a picture this morning of his yearling saying he can't wait to ride him, and we hadn't seen him since he picked him up in February. He's big and pretty, and he's like, looking forward to the Rattlbuckle someday with him, and excited to ride him, and that's what's fun. We having the mares come through and then keeping them and then having that next generation has been really, really special. The Bound to White checks mare for us that I'd mentioned was third at the World. We've got a daughter of hers that then come back that was in her mama's belly when she was third at the World, and then come back and was reserve world champion herself in the tie down with Luke. And we're getting babies now out of that mare that are by CT Show Me Your Guns. So that's just it's one of those that's just really fun to watch and see him come through, But a lot of our mares are cow-bred mares. Daughter's a very smart remedy. It's kind of WR Daughter that we bought down here a couple years ago, and you walk through and I can usually recite them a lot better when I'm standing there with them. But it's most of our mares are either earners or producers or both at this point, and we were with the young studs. I thought it was really important to have really good mares, and if you look at the really good horses that are here, they all got good mamas.
100%.
And there's too many people, in my opinion, that they want to stand that young stud, but then they take their best mares and they only go breed outside. Yeah. And it's awful hard to give your young stud much of a shot if he's not getting the mare power. And we, have been doing that, and it's worked, and we've had success with those crosses and success with those mares, and then the stud, and that gives us an opportunity to go both ways with it.
So sitting here with you, you just get my wheels turning. So what we have, you're very unique in the sense that you're right in the middle of this rope horse deal. So this was our fourth year at Riata. the AQHA and with the AQHA and the rope horse futurities and what they're doing, that has kind of started changing the game at the top, right? And for your open level ropers, for your higher numbered ropers. Now we're coming in with RIATA. We have, of course, the Open's going to take care of itself, but now we have the numbered divisions, the 12 ropens, the 10 ropens. The 12 ropen was the biggest one this year. And what they're looking for right there is these horses that we're talking about. But what happens is you start putting 5s and 6s, your mid-level, lower than a non-pro, your amateur recreational team roper on these horses. And you have got to have mind.
Right.
You've got to have
100%.
the mind. And as ropers, we, for years, didn't pay attention to the mare power at all. So this is kind of more of a question than a statement. You've lived through this, is where I wanted to come full circle. You have lived through what we're living through now collectively as an industry. You've been doing it for years now.
Yeah, and to be honest, I saw that, and it was something that always was something. Everybody's got this real good one for sale, and I always was, what's its mama? Well, I mean, that really good,
but
mare.
it's by
right, and it's like, did you even ride her? What was she truly anything herself? Well, I mean, her brother, and I said that's not what I asked, and so, I think the colt takes way more from the mare than they do. The sire's only going to improve them so much, and especially on that mind side. I mean, they live on that mare for 4, 5, 6 months. I mean, and they take that stuff and they remember it and they go from there. And it's like that start that they were getting, with the professional trainer versus me riding them. Yeah. That sticks with them forever.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. It's 100. That's
exactly that's where they get their start, is right there with her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that makes a big difference. And we used to, honestly, before we kind of switched gears and got more towards the cow lines, we had a Jackie B horse. I really liked the Jackie B lines. They're still a really good, solid horse. Like, we could ride that horse twice a year and he was always the same. But like, his colts are always a little slower to break to lead and things, and I didn't know any better. Sure. And these colts now, I mean, these young horses are so smart. I mean, so you put them in a stall and you put a lead rope and a halter on them, and like, you walk in with them an hour later and they're already yielding to pressure. And like 2 days later, you walk them out and you're leading them around. And it's just, it's almost, the general public needs to understand like how smart they are, because if you teach them wrong, it sticks with them. There's a lot of people that don't get them start. Where it's like, gosh, I don't want to start them when they're 2. I want to wait and let them grow up a little bit. Today's modern horses are designed to be started when they are 2. They're designed to be in a program. If you do not put them in that program, you can end up with a wild animal. I mean, because they learn that, they get big, they get strong, they're too smart. They need to be brought along.
That strong. Yep.
And it's just sense. Really, it's some of those things that, even the team roper deal for sure. When we were raising our old, 15 years ago and doing the old 2-eye jack deal and stuff like that, I mean, nobody wanted them till they were 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
And that's what's been great about the rope horse fraternities and things like that. It's got the guys thinking about, I want that 2-year-old or 3-year-old. It's got the guy buying the yearling and bringing them through a program. It's got people trying to breed one to raise one. Yeah. And it's really helped us. I mean, and we kind of had it all happen at the right time, and it's been really good for the industry. I think the horsemanship has improved in the ropers.
Yes, a lot.
And it's had to. I mean, and I think, you see those guys, and it's been really fun the last several years having the rope horse futurity be right here, and then the sales going on. And you saw those guys that, are trying to buy that cowbred colt, and bring it up and go like, man, they're right here. This is the cream of the crop. Like, let's go buy one of them instead of like waiting until they're 5 or 6. And then they can't afford them. They aren't willing to afford them. And I think it's really changed the industry.
I think what you're going to see just sitting here talking. So if you take what you guys have done with your program, there was, training or breeding rope horses is not a new thing. But what is different about it is, take me for example. This is a point in my life where I can afford to go out and buy some nice horses. So before, if I was going to go buy them to put together a rope horse program, the only guys that I was looking at in my little world was like JD, a handful of guys in Texas, the few guys that we know, but it was a relatively small circle of AQHA guys, right, that were showing. Well, I come from the numbered ropens. So there's no money in the AQHA deal, so I'm not going to go build AQHA horses. And at that point, they were your head horse showed different than your rope horse head horse did. Just the difference between showing and going to roping. Now all of that's crossing over.
The lines have blurred a lot.
They are blurred.
And I honestly think that was really happening about the time we were coming through with CT Show Me Your Guns.
Gotcha.
And I remember Luke telling me that a lot of people had asked him, he's a great show horse, but is he a head horse?
Yeah.
And I had buddies that told me that they asked him, and then afterwards they're like, he said he'd haul him to any rope in the country, and I'm like, oh, well, that's good to know, But that
because there was a distinct.
Where it was very different.
Very different.
Yep. And I think the rope horse fraternities really changed that.
100%.
And I think the having that big strong horse that'll hold up and that's been in the AQHA roping, like if it's the right kind that's got the run and it's got the look and stuff like that, like that horse definitely can blend over and do that.
Sure.
Like, and it's for us, it's been a numbers game, just getting enough of them that are old enough to get out there. Quite honestly, I mean, it takes a long time when you start with these young studs and getting babies on them and out of them and out of the right mares and stuff and in the right hands of people. So it's not easy.
But now, what's great about it is that the old rope horse deal, 7 or 8 years old is when we started looking at them.
Right.
That's when we started.
Which doesn't make it very good for the guy that breeds them. Let me tell you, 'cause you get a lot wrapped up by that.
You think 3 years is a long time.
Right.
You wait till you got to go to 8.
Right.
And you got to go to 8 with every single horse. I mean, we talked about the other day, the average, you go all the way to the top, the average age of the horses at the NFR was 16 to 18 years old.
Right.
It's finally coming down, and it's a product of these great horses. Well, now at Riata we're showing our 4-year-olds, we're showing 5 and 6-year-olds with the average team roper on them. That shortens up your program by half,
right,
and by a lot. And then that's why right now is the absolute best time. And here's the other thing it never did. If you were building rope horses, you were building them for the AQHA, and that's it. And then if you just had a great jackpot horse, they would end up being a great jackpot horse. Now we can breed for them, and we can set up a program.
And these horses that come through the cow horse programs and come here and compete and do those things and are big enough and strong enough and have enough bone and foot to hold up, come out of this. And if with Luke or they're with Stephen Hutchins who rides for us or Damian Michelson, they come through here and they're so broke.
Yeah.
They just start roping on them.
Yeah,
I mean, they especially on the heel side, they run to a spot and they sit there on that spot and just wait for you to throw the rope and sit down and stop. Like we've got a mare that was a limited finalist down here 2 years ago with Stephen Hutchins. She was 10th in the limited, and we cow horsed her and she was hot. She's out of the old Gonna Be Lucky mare and that old Mr. Gunsmoke mare line that was hot, and her hardest thing is loping a big fast circle, and she just like gets really jittery doing it. We switched her over and started roping on her. It looks like, I mean, she's cool, calm, collected, and she goes out there and just does her job, and every time does it the same, and it's just so easy for her.
Yeah.
She just loves it, and she were roping both ends on her here in 3 weeks at the World Show. So, and she'll start doing the rope horse fraternities after that. Yeah. So, yeah, it's fun to watch, and like see them and go through and have that career be successful in one area, and then be able just to switch gears and go through. And that's really, I would say, what got us here to the cow horse world. We had seen a lot of different stuff and been involved with a lot of different stuff, and AQHA had gotten her. It was so one-dimensional, and my wife Melanie and I still love the horse that is very much able to go do multiple things.
Be a cowboy's horse.
A cowboy's horse. You can go to the roping on. You can you can sit the kids on and go do that. You can ranch on them. Like I said, then you get the neighbor breaking their neck and wanting to know what is that, because man, that's a good looking sucker. And having the horse that comes through and is broke and knows the deal, and you can just switch and somebody else can go throw a leg over and go, it's been awesome. And
that's got to give you a whole sense of pride right there when you have a horse that can come and show here and then do exactly what you just said.
Right.
How cool is that?
100%. We've been raising them for a long time. And for us, and we've worked with Luke so long. One of the cool things, and most people don't realize. So Luke in 2021 wins the world on our stud CT Show Me Your Guns. The next year, Will Jones, Luke's oldest boy, wins the heading on a daughter of CT Show Me Your Guns. The year after that, Court, Luke's next boy, wins the healing on a son of CD Dynasty. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. They only got one boy left. We're going to get Lane in there one of these days.
Get him in there.
He's going to get a shot. Yeah. So, but it's been really fun for us to grow up with that whole family and have them come through and do that. And it's kind of, Luke and I joke that the kids are competing out there now. So it's fun to see.
So let's bring it all full circle to hear the snaffle bit. How's this particular snaffle bit been for your horses?
Well, they've done good. We probably haven't gotten some of the scores we wanted or hoped, and it's been kind of a different snaffle bit, I would say. Like the reigning scores were kind of all like they weren't as high as you've seen a lot, but
you're about the fifth person that said that.
I think they were consistent, but
a little bit lower.
So you didn't know what to really, So we weren't here yet for the reign, and so I was watching it online, and I'm going like, gosh, that was okay, but it still ended up being in the middle of the pack, so it was all right. Then we go down there do the herd work, and it was like, we did good, but because we were kind of like middle of the pack in the rain, and we really needed to be good in the herd work, and then we were just good in the herd work, and like we needed to be really good down the fence. So then yesterday, like we had a really good first turn, and we blew a stirrup, and so flat tire, and Damian Michelson almost come off, and
did he lose his stirrup?
Oh, the Blevins buckle broke. It come
Yeah.
loose, and stirrup come right out in the first turn. So he comes down, and
He's
we knew
lucky
we needed.
He didn't have an earful.
Well, we knew we needed to be big, so I told him. I said, just go in there, and I said, go for it. And I said, if it doesn't work, pull up, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
So he goes running down there, and goes and makes a huge first turn, and then all of a sudden he does a circle, and we're like, what in the world? And then you start seeing litter on the ground, and, he's like about half out of the saddle, and he steps off and is picking up pieces with stirrup and Blevins buckle, and so it one of those deals.
That's a terrible feeling when the bottom drops out, right?
It is, and all you can do is laugh about it.
Sure.
I think 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago I'd have been like, oh my gosh, and all mad, but it's like, nobody wants to win more than the guy on top of the horse, and we've learned that, and like we've worked with a lot of these really young trainers, and we look at it as a team approach. Like Luke's been our main guy for 18 years, it's a long time, and so.
I love that you guys have been that loyal to his owners.
Well,
there's something to be said for that.
And for us, we look at it as a team approach. And we've met so many great people through him. Like we were just talking. I mean, Del Hendricks was Luke showed our first Futurity force in 2015. We didn't go back to Reno in 2016. I wanted him to come here sooner, and we didn't. So CT Show Me Your Guns was actually in cow horse training. We pulled him out and said, we're not going back to Reno. Like it's just ain't going to do that. So we had a mare we sent down here, and like she was smaller and like a little behind, and Luke's like, I just don't think we're going to be competitive in the open, and Del Hendricks was going to be a level 1 eligible that year, and I said we were at a cow horse show, and I said Del, would you want to try her? And he's like, he said I'd be honored to show her, and which was really cool. And $1 million reiner steps in and goes to his first cow horse show, and ends up placing in the top 10 on her, and that
really?
was yep. So that was pretty cool. So
that's awesome.
And then we've had several then Luke was like I said finalist in 19, and Sarah Murphy had a level 1 horse force that year, and she ended up in the top 10 in the level 1. So we've had really good luck, honestly, with like last year was a really big deal with Stephen Hutchins wins the limited open down here with one we raised, and we had since lost both his sire and his dam.
Oh man,
and
so that was a big deal.
It was an emotional deal, and it was really cool. So and that was a big win for him and a big win for us, and that was a huge thing for both of our programs. So
what would you say, words of wisdom or whatever, to that the young owner, not young as in age, but the person that's like, what, I think I want to get in to do this. They see like a person like myself that's looking at what this industry is doing and what the the entire industry right now is a great place to be. What would you tell, what the things that you and Mel have lived through, what would you tell that person? What would those 3 pieces of advice be?
Well, one, I've talked to a lot of people about stuff like this, and I tell them, I said, this is not for the weak of heart.
Right.
You're going to have a lot of setbacks, and whether it's in the breeding side or in the training side, something that gets hurt. We were just talking in the walk over, the different years of the ones that we've had, and we had a really, really good snaffle bit prospect in 2022, and tore a meniscus in his stifle, ended up getting a secondary injury while he was in rehab that we had to put down. And it's like, at that point, honestly, it was such a punch in the gut. It's like, what are we, what are we doing? Were we pushing that horse too hard? And it's a freak deal. Like it was, but you're going to have setbacks and be ready for them. because
So have a short memory on that.
You got to, because there's a reason they call it horse showing and not horse winning. Like you don't always win. It just doesn't work. So I mean, every person that sent a horse here thought that they're going to be standing there in the spotlight on Saturday night, or they weren't sending them.
And there's going to be one.
And there's going to be one. So you better be happy to be here and participate. You better be happy to come see your horse, ride the highs, be ready for the lows. That's part of the reasons we come for the prelim, because we want to see them go whether they win or lose. And and we enjoy coming down and seeing friends that we've met through the years and stuff, and that's important. So
I was just going to ask you about, what about the camaraderie of other owners and trainers?
It's awesome. Like, we've met so many great people through this. You know, like some of our best friends are Ken and Jen Schuler from Illinois, and she looks at me, and I knew I'd do that, and my wife laughs then. But like we live only about 2.5 hours apart, but like we spend more time together down here than we do back there, because we're busy, and we don't take the time to go out and see each other and go do those things. And and other people that bought a horse from us, or that like we talked to sometime, we were looking at a horse, and you see him a year later, and it's, you're like still a friend that you just don't talk to every day. So it's a lot of fun to do that. But that's good. I would say other stuff is like, don't just follow the trend. The trend changes, and you see people that come in and like everybody wants to breed to that next new hot thing all the time. And make sure that's what you're really wanting to do and wanting to go for, because just because it works for everybody else doesn't mean it works for you.
I love that.
And
how many hours have you two spent looking at pictures, videos, papers? I mean, how many? I'm a nerd to this stuff. Really
I
bet.
I could. It drives her nuts some days. But,
you're like a chemist in there. I bet.
We bought this mare. It was actually the first mare we ever showed. I was driving down the road on the way to a meeting, and I called her, and we knew this horse was coming up in a sale, and we had looked at her, and I'd looked at the pedigree, and we talked about her already, and I called her and I said, hey, look up numbers so and so in this sale, and she looked it up, and she go, okay. I said, read me the sire and the dam, and she says she did. I said, okay, go to, it was, and in my head, I thought she's a full sister to a horse that used to stand at Pitzer's. And I said, go to their website and just pull this stud. I said, I just think that, I think they're full siblings. And she goes, okay. And she pulls it up and she goes, genuine Ombre and Peg Joe Red. And I said, full siblings. And she goes, how did you know that?
In your mind, like
I think about weird stuff.
Kind of strange, but that's awesome.
It's one of those things that almost consumes us sometimes, I think, and we spend a ton of time in it. We sit down each year and lay out our papers and try to figure out which crosses we're making, and a lot of times we're not changing a lot, but it's still something we talk about each year. And like, what do you want to try to, do we really like what this cross has been doing? Do we want to go a different way, and stuff like that. And like, it's, we make it, it's still a business, but like we make it fun, and it's something that we both really enjoy and are both passionate about.
And I love that it's yours. I mean, these horses that you're talking about are truly your horse. There's nothing bandwagony about your breeding. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I mean, absolutely, and you guys are doing it, and I love that. And I love that you've set goals for that, for your program, that was with what the horses look like, the conformation of those horses, and you didn't let what's hot today dictate that. You said, no, this is what I want, and this is what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to end up with. That's very, very cool. Very cool. I mean, that's a strategy. That's doing your own thing.
Yeah, and it's one of those that, like, if you build it, they'll come kind of thing. I mean, we are from Iowa, so, but like we've tried to stay true to that, and we've tried to, like I said, like have that horse that we think is special. And I think, we pick the baby's out for our own. I mean, we pick them when they're weeks old, because we want to we sell a lot of babies. And so it's really hard if you just price them all, like, on all of a sudden, like we used to do that 15 years ago. And what would happen is you'd sell your best ones. Yeah. And then we're trying to go do something with the ones that are more of the bottom enders. And we weren't showing or trying to do the stuff with the ones out of our best mares. Yeah. And that's
hard when you're trying to build that business, though, isn't it?
Right,
like
100%.
15, 20 years ago, y'all were just trying to figure out. You were trying to figure out, how do we afford this? And
I was a high school ag teacher when we first took a first horse.
Oh,
to Luke,
boy!
And I was on a fixed. I was riding 2 horses so Luke could ride 1. Is what I was doing at that point. And and I wasn't. I was not getting paid to ride the same as Luke Jones. I was doing a little different job.
Different deal. Yeah. So those were big decisions, but
very much.
You kind of had to make those back then. But isn't it rewarding and cool that at this point in your career, by golly, you can be like, hey, we're keeping the best ones.
Yep, and that's I had somebody messaged me yesterday. Well, was this one for sale? I said nope, she's in the keeper pen. Just Pricer said she's in the keeper pen.
Yeah, you don't
and
understand.
It is what
like,
it is.
yeah.
Like, and we try to like earmark one early out of each stud, like that we're just gonna. That's the one we're gonna go on with, and like we're gonna give them an opportunity. They pretty much all get started in the cow horse, and then if they tell us that they're not a cow horse, and then they want to go do like the ranch events or they want to do the rope, like eventually either way they're probably gonna come back and go in the rope horse deal. But like we start them all number one as a cow horse, and like give them a shot to go prove if they can do that or not.
Well, man, I tell you what, Reid, I really appreciate you coming up here and talking. I really enjoyed this conversation.
One of the things I was just going to hit, like the IQHA Ranch Horse Futurity in Iowa, like that's something I'm on the board for, and like that's been a really cool outlet for the young horses. You know, like the ropers, like the stuff like you aren't going to go rope on them till they're 3 or 4.
Sure.
You know, like we just got done with that show here a couple weeks ago. We paid out over $200,000 this year.
Really? So great show.
Oh, big! It's a big deal. Like it's really turned into something. I mean, the yearling classes had 62 head in each yearling class.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's like we've got people that just crave doing that yearling deal and like love to work with the yearlings. And I mean, quite honestly, I used to just a yearling, like you're a team roper, you understand. You can do nothing.
Nothing
like,
with it.
you turn them out in the pasture and you hope they're still walking and alive when you come back. And now we can ride them.
100%.
And that's the way it was, you know. Like in this deal, like I mean, we'll send stuff down, and like Steve in the last 2 years, Hutchins has been starting our 2-year-olds, and like he goes, we can saddle your colts and start riding them, and he goes, within a week we're on month 2 because they've had all that background work done, and we're putting
hands on them all the time.
Like, well, not even all the time. I still gotta let them be a horse, but like the summer of their yearling year, they're getting worked and they're getting fit, and it does 2 things. I mean, it allows us. We've got 3 CT Show Me Your Guns geldings that we were fitting for the horse show, so we've got pictures now of them. Now that we're going to market and advertise them, 2 of them are already earners from that show. They were 4th and 8th out of 62 in the halter. Like that was cool, And then we come back and show them as 2s, and they're doing all the stuff that you need a 2 to do. You just take them to town, which is great experience. Both our Snaffle bidders were there. They both won money 2 weeks ago in the ranch classes. And the horse that was the Snaffle bit Futurity champion of ours last year, he ends up being the reserve high money earner in the open there with Steven. Well, he ain't trained to be a ranch horse, but he's pretty, he's gentle, he's broke, and he's an athlete. And he walks into those classes, and they just do them, And it's fun to see that, and that's one of the things I think that's kind of turned into the everyman sport, the ranch stuff, and I think that's growing so fast. And I think that like as a stallion owner, that's something you should. That's my plug. You should look at, because it's one of those that's a growing piece, and we can still come back and do the rope deal. We can still come back and have done the cow horse deal already, and it's a great building block, and it's another kind of peg, I think, in a 3-tier system that we kind of are looking at now, where we used to really just be doing cow horse or roping, and now those ranch events have really become something that the industry is really evolving around. So
it's growing and growing.
Oh my gosh! Like I said, the big thing about the everyman kind of deal, like everybody thinks that I show all year round. I really show at that just one horse show a year.
Really?
And and I could barely walk on Sunday morning after the cow horse. But
are you roping at all or anything?
So I've spent my entire life riding young horses. Is the crazy thing, and I've spent almost my entire life riding young horses 2-handed. You give me a rope, and I turn into I'm like where do I put my other hand? And it's one of those. I really should be, and I really should work on that. And I feel like I have an eye for that, but I don't make the horses look nearly as good as Luke or any of his boys. So at this point, it's like I kind of a little bit. I'm almost ready for the select though, so maybe I can start doing that. I'll jump in.
There you go. Well, man, thank you so much for coming up and hanging out.
Appreciate it.
And this was a great conversation. You owners out there, or if you want to get in, and one thing about the NRCHA, like you, I guarantee I could walk up to you in the barns or anywhere and just like, hey, Reid, I've got some questions. Like that's what it's all about,
and that's what's so fun about
helping people out.
That's one of the reasons I would say we're here, and like we see it. Like we've had a lot of young trainers show horses here, and I remember when we made the finals in 2019, and I had never met Chris Dawson. He happened to be, when they took us out on the red carpet, he happened to be standing next to us. Yeah. And I went over and I introduced myself, and like he had helped Sarah so much because they were close together, and she'd go over there and ride with Chris. And like Chris is an ambassador of this industry, and you 100%. See him out there like with young trainers and like getting asked by, you know, what should I have done different? What do you think I did good? And Luke has always been that way. And like that's one of the things that I think the cow horse industry is such a family, and like I don't think you see that everywhere, and you definitely don't see that like when we talk at the ranch horse side. You definitely don't see it on the city side, you know, of the show world, and that's what's really gotten so many people, I think, out of the horse show industry. And I think that's what, when we kind of landed here, and and then we're doing the roping and we're doing the ranch stuff, like it's so different. Everybody is willing to help. Everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to improve everyone's horsemanship. And that's where, like I said, on the city side, I think it's like everybody wants to hold their cards real tight to their chest. They don't want to like give away their secrets.
Don't want to give away their secrets.
Right. As you might beat them if you do. So like in here, you've got the competitors all in there cheering for one another. And that's just
whatever you
cool.
need to know. Open books.
Yep. And we're, I'll turn back if you need me to turn back in the herd, and they're like trying to, that's the one you want to cut, even though they're later in the set, and they want to cut that cow themselves, like I just don't think you see that in other parts of the world. And like, that's one of the things that's definitely kept us here.
It's special, man. It really is. It really is. From the outside looking in, that conversation at this desk has been had more than any other conversation, from people in it, from people outside, of people on the peripheries, that this is so welcoming. Fallon Taylor was up here the other day, from my perspective, and other guys and gals that have just got in here in the last year or two. That's what everybody says. I was talking to Paige and Chad Turner, who are dear friends of mine. We've done every aspect of this industry together: cutting, roping, this deal, everything else. And that's the conversation we all have, is what you just said.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
It is. It's very cool, and that's something that, because of that, I think you're seeing. That's where I think you see the boom here. I think you see it growing. I think it'll continue to do that.
Absolutely.
And as they, like Luke has worked really hard, like bringing that high school rodeo side into Iowa and the cow horse. And like you're seeing so many of these kids doing this, and then like the extra stuff, just like in the rope horse with the Futurities and the Riata and stuff. I mean, there's all these extra bridle classes and things like that, and like you see these really good horses continue on and be able to continue their career where they really only had an outlet to go be a rope horse maybe when they turned 6, 7, 8, or like 90% of them anyway. And you're seeing a lot more of those horses get finished. You're seeing a lot of them stay there, and those horses are still worth a lot of money, and they're we're keeping them sound. We're doing a better job with that, and like that's it's good for the industry.
It is a great place to be. Well, everybody, that was straight from the horse's mouth right there. And for those of you out there that are interested in getting in the business, or to you owners that are out there, on behalf of the NRCHA and the entire industry, we want to say thank you for the investments that you and your wife have made. Thank you for the investments for all of you owners out there that take the time and keep doing the research and building these bloodlines, and of course supplying our trainers with great horses. You are a vital, vital part of this industry and the backbone of it, and we appreciate each and every one of you. On behalf of Reid and his wife, I am Dru Stew, and we're going to keep bringing you more and more stuff from here at the Snaffle Bit Futurity 2025. We'll catch everybody in a little bit.